My name's Jeff Baldwin. I am the director of the Greek Bible Institute. The Greek Bible Institute was founded in 1973 here in Greece. There were missionaries of Greater Europe Mission that came to Greece, and actually the first missionaries were here in 1966. They began some evening classes in 1973, and then over time in 1980 a full-time daytime Bible school began. It's basically the only full-time Bible school in Greece, serving the evangelical community in Greece. It has, over the years, has produced most of the pastors in the Greek Evangelical Church. It's here to train young people who want to serve the Lord in some way, some capacity, either in Greece or beyond Greece. That's the purpose, to be here. And over time, we've seen the school bring in some very quality young people, and we've had the opportunity to train them and see them working in God's field. My parents came to Greece as missionaries in 1966. I was born in 1965, so I was brought here when I was 1, and my father was the kind of missionary who believed that you must immerse yourself and your family into the culture. So I grew up in Greece, went to Greek schools, lived in this country as a Greek, and so I grew up knowing modern Greek throughout all these years. After finishing Bible college at Moody Bible Institute, I went on to Dallas Seminary, and I was there from 1987 to 1991, majored in Old Testament and systematic theology, but also took some Greek there as well. There are several differences between modern Greek and Koine Greek. I kind of, when I think of the analogy with English, I think it's somewhere, the difference is somewhere between Chaucer and Shakespeare, if somebody wanted to kind of see the difference. So knowing modern Greek is a definite advantage, because so much of the vocabulary, it may not be exactly the same word, but you sort of connect the two words. And so you have that background. That doesn't mean that you automatically know ancient Greek, and it doesn't mean that you automatically understand ancient Greek grammar or syntax. So what it does is it makes it easier to study the matter. But grammar and syntax, just like grammar and syntax in English, takes work. It made things easier, but there still was a lot of work to do. I took Dan Wallace's class on advanced Greek grammar, and I think that was one of the best courses I've ever had. First of all, it was wonderful to just see Dan Wallace's amazing knowledge of the subject and depth in which he covers it. Suddenly you begin to realize that there's so much more there than you could possibly imagine. And I think Dan Wallace's book on syntax is it wasn't a book then, but it was truly phenomenal, I think, how he combined theology with syntax and made it interesting. I think, and the other thing I enjoyed in Dan Wallace's class is how he helped us to begin to research how grammar and syntax impacts the interpretation of New Testament texts in a way that I had never thought you could even do before. And so it was actually putting all the knowledge of Greek into practice. Nevertheless, in spite of my modern Greek and my knowledge of ancient Greek, I think I struggled just as much as anybody else in the class. There was a lot of reading to do in English anyway. Dan Wallace came through here a few years ago. I don't even remember what reason it was for. But then we contacted again last year, and he began to explain to me his plans about photographing ancient manuscripts in Greece. To be honest with you, at the time I wasn't sure how that could even happen, and how people would open up in monasteries or other places, how they would open up for such opportunities. Interestingly, I had had more and more contacts these last 2 years with Greek Orthodox people in various places. I got to know a monk very well. I got to know a couple of the professors of the University of Athens much better. And suddenly there were some contacts that I had that could help perhaps in the process. So that was kind of exciting. And I was surprised to see that doors can open when people begin to see that you're doing this purely out of the love for the New Testament. And I think that what the Center for the Study of Ancient Manuscripts of the New Testament is doing is a phenomenal work, just advancing our knowledge of ancient manuscripts. That can have a huge impact in the progress of the study of the New Testament. It's amazing how much Dan gets done by just jumping in there and seeing what's going to happen. It was basically helping him translate some letters into Greek to be sent to various monasteries and so forth to ask for permission, or making some phone calls, contacting various people that I know from here or there, and hoping that somehow that'll open some doors. Interestingly, there have been some contacts that I've had that just, for example, I think we were talking about a project in the University of the Aegean. Well, I happen to have a friend at the University of the Aegean who's a professor there, and we're hoping maybe that'll open a door there. There are 3 manuscripts in the library of Kozani up in northern Greece. I just happened to have met a brother of ours who's in the Pentecostal church up there, and we've gotten to be good friends, and all of a sudden I hear that he's involved in the he works in the mayor's office there, and he might have some contact and be able to open a door in the library. So in various ways that somehow contacts that we have might help this organization to make contacts that's it may be beautiful. We'll see what happens. Living in Greece, we already face, for example, just let me give an example from living in Greece. The Bible that our churches use is the equivalent of a King James Version translation. In the last few years, a new translation has emerged, but that is based mostly on the Byzantine manuscripts, a certain group of manuscripts. Now, this is an interesting thing because that's been the manuscript tradition of the Orthodox Church. However, in the process of doing textual criticism, we're essentially trying to see what was the message, what was really written down, and if we can gather all the witnesses to that, all the texts, and really look at this a little more scientifically, being able to see exactly what's there. People may think that a lot of that work has been done. Well, a lot has been done, but there's so much more to be done. We're hearing of discoveries of new manuscripts that the organization has already done in Albania. I mean, we have to bring in all the relevant witnesses, see what was written, begin to study and compare the way in which various people copied the New Testament manuscripts, what were the scribal tendencies, put all that together and begin to do more sophisticated research in order to come to safer and better and more certain conclusions, so that we'll have even more certainty about the scriptures that we preach and teach in our churches. So even though it seems to a layperson that this job of textual criticism is irrelevant, actually it ultimately relates to the Bible that we read for our devotions and that we hear preached from the pulpit on every Sunday. So it's one of those jobs that few people in the world are gifted for. But if they are gifted for that, more power to them. We really need to honor the burden that God has placed on the heart of those who want to really serve the church through textual criticism.